Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I utilize the 4 elements as inspiration and motivation to change my outlook and make those necessary mindset changes that I needed to make. I'm also going to be talking about how I focused on the quality of gratitude this week and how I utilized the 4 elements to kind of change my mindset after the fact. Alright, so let's get right into it. So there have been some pretty drastic events happen in my life recently. And I've developed a new trick to change my mindset that involves drawing inspiration from the 4 elements and realizing how they add a new dimension to your outlook on life. I don't believe in the whole spiritism or connecting to the outside elements or the universe, but I do, however, realize that human emotions and traits mimic the 4 elements in certain ways. I think the best way to explain this is through examples, but we need to lay some foundation first. My wife saw this quote and showed it to me the other day, and it inspired me to change my mindset and how I visualize personality traits. You can use the 4 elements as a baseline of thinking how to control your outlook on life. In my last video, I'll include a card right here and a link in the description below if you want to check that one out. I spoke about how I focus on a different personality trait every week and how that's really helped me become a leader. So to start out with, let's talk about water. The quote says, "Remember you are water, cry, cleanse, flow." We mimic water when we get so strong in our emotions that we cry. We are also like water when we're carefree. And so when I was thinking about water, I couldn't help but think about the Grand Canyon. It was likely created by the powerful flowing of water. When we are powerful, that's another way that we're like water. Another example is how water, like us, conforms to its surroundings. Sometimes that's a good thing, but other times it's not. The ways that we emulate the 4 elements aren't always positive. Water can also be described as unsupportive. Think about it. Which is going to give you more support? Stepping onto a body of water or a solid piece of earth? If you step onto a body of water, you're going to fall through, right? Now let's talk about earth since we're on that subject. Quote says, "Remember that you are earth, ground, build, give." The element of earth can be described, as I mentioned, as supportive. Speaking of being supportive, give this video a like, subscribe and click that notification bell so that you can be reminded when I post new videos every week. And share this video with your friends. All of those actions support me by letting YouTube know that my content is worth watching. It also helps YouTube to place my content on people's homepages so that more people are aware that I'm making videos. So when thinking about Earth, it came to mind that literally people can be described using the word grounded. Also, with the Earth sometimes being so hard, another quality that came to mind was stubbornness. The Earth, like some of us, can be rigid. Also, Earth for the most part is dependable. You don't have to question every single step that you take. Earth can be described as solid. Maybe for you that's a relationship that you have, or a stand in your faith. Maybe it's an opinion that you have on a matter. It's important to stay solid in these regards. And that brings me to air. The quote says, "Remember that you are air. Be still. Focus. Decide." While acting like earth and being solid is sometimes beneficial, acting like the air at times is good as well. Sometimes in life you have to be flexible enough to roll with the punches. A quality of air that I realized is that air is constantly moving. Sometimes, like with business, you should always be on the move. You should always be ahead of the curve when it comes to outcoming technology and different trends. But also, constantly moving can be a negative thing as well when it comes to things like anxiety and depression. Sometimes we need to just sit, relax, and exist in the moment. Air, like water, is also inconsistent, but air can also be powerful at times. During big storms, air can knock down solid trees and form tornadoes. We can emulate air by being powerful. Like air and water, fire can be powerful as well, so let's talk about that. The quote says, "Remember that you are fire. Burn, tame, ignite." Fire is so powerful that given the right conditions, it can ignite and spread so rapidly. This can be seen as a good quality. But on the flip side, fire can spread so rapidly that everything in its path can be destroyed without concern. The quality of being vindictive comes to mind. Also, you can look at the quick spread of fire as a desire for growth, something that we should all strive for. Fire, like some of us, is also dramatic and showy. Another quality that I noticed that we mirror about fire is while being dramatic, you're being a performer. Fire is also bright and daring. Both of these are qualities that people can possess. The fact that fire can consume almost everything in sight doesn't always have to be negative. Consuming everything, while sometimes can't be good, like watching the news constantly or scrolling through social media, soaking in everything with no regard to checking the facts. Consuming everything can be a positive trait as well. Think about the people in your life that are always constantly reading, the knowledge seekers. Consuming everything can also mean that you're knowledgeable, as long as there's discernment. Thinking of fire made me consider the qualities of being fearless and brave. People talk about the fire of passion all the time. That's one of the ways that you can be like fire. I don't utilize this as like I need to be like fire today or air today mentality. I think more about the quality that I'm trying to be or the experience that I'm having, and think about what element that might be closest to. This helps me in my brain think about other qualities that I could utilize to change my mindset. Let's talk about the past few weeks and how my experience ties into all of this. This week, I'm focusing on the personality trait of gratitude. When I focus on the quality of the week, I don't just think about this week and what's about to happen, but what has happened in the past as well. So with that being said, let me tell you about what's been going on in my life. On July 10th, I got home from work and I started feeling feverish. During the pandemic, this has been a black cloud, so to speak, that's been kind of haunting my family. I work with the public, and I felt like it was a not if, but when type of situation with regards to contracting the coronavirus. The coronavirus is a global pandemic, and the service industry has arguably been the most affected. They have been exposing themselves to the general public in large quantities. The only other industry that I personally can think of that is more affected by the coronavirus in large scale is the medical field. So when I got home and I felt like I had a fever, I immediately took my temperature, and it was 101.3. I started calling around, but I couldn't find a testing site that could take me immediately. So I went into the emergency room. While I was out, my wife gathered some of our things, grabbed my son, and went next door to her mother's house. There are a few things that I'm grateful here in this first part of this story. I'm grateful that I acted so quickly after experiencing symptoms. I'm grateful for the quick action on my wife's part to separate themselves from me. I'm grateful for the hospital staff, although I'm more grateful for my primary care physician, and I'll talk about that later on. Most importantly, I'm thankful for my wife's mom and grandma. They opened their home to my wife, my son, and later on me, and I'll talk about that later on in the video as well. So, a lot to be grateful for, right? Next, when I got home, things turned from hopeful to inconvenient. I walked into the house and it was 83 degrees. Our air conditioner had broke. And we were already living paycheck to paycheck essentially, with a little bit of wiggle room. We weren't utilizing this wiggle room correctly and had absolutely zero money in savings. Although it may seem like a setback, I've heard the quote that a setback is just a setup for a comeback. In this instance, that is exactly true. I'm actually grateful that our air conditioner went out. On day 3 of fighting this virus, I woke up and my sheets were soaked in sweat. I literally could wring out my sheets and fill up a drinking glass. My biggest symptom of COVID was I felt like I was burning up from the inside out. I was running 101 to 103 degree fever the entirety of the first 3 days. Although there's still no scientific evidence that you can actually break a fever or sweat a fever out, I feel like the lack of having AC helped me break this fever so much quicker. There's also speculation that this virus doesn't live well in heat. This is something that I'm actually realizing that I'm grateful that I had no AC during having the coronavirus. My wife and I decided that we would figure out the air conditioner situation later on once the virus was clear and we had our house sanitized so that anybody coming in wouldn't be exposed to the virus. So I stayed in the house alone for the entire time of self-quarantine without a working air conditioner. So let's talk about my primary care physician. It's the very next morning after my test, and I get a phone call from the doctor's office. The emergency room had faxed over paperwork saying that I had taken the test, but didn't have the results yet. So my primary care physician, one of the nurses that's working in the front office, decided to take it upon herself to call the emergency room and see if they had results yet. The emergency room staff told her that I was positive. I'm very grateful for the staff at my doctor's office for taking that step on their own. I received the results from the emergency room the next day. So here I was at home alone in a now 89-degree house, now a positive carrier of the coronavirus. My doctor scheduled a call in the next few hours to discuss my symptoms and further treatment. Essentially, without getting into all the details, my doctor prescribed 3 different medications, an over-the-counter supplement, and told me to continue taking ibuprofen and Tylenol until my fever broke. I'm grateful for him believing in this combination of medicine, and the reason why I'm grateful is because it worked. I was essentially symptom-free within 4 days and completely symptom-free within 5 days of feeling symptoms. I'm also grateful for my mother-in-law going out to pick up this medication for me and for her daily meal deliveries so that I didn't have to cook and I could focus on getting well. So now I'm symptom-free and I'm cooped up in a house all alone by myself with absolutely nothing to do. So me, I chose to work on my mindset. I did this in all aspects of my life: physical, spiritual, emotional, mental. I decided to take this time to work on myself and my business. I was grateful for this break, which I'll discuss why in a future video. Now fast forward. I'm symptom-free and cleared to return to life as normal. This is where I'm grateful for my wife again. She came back over to our house, which now looked like a bachelor pad, complete with a pile of dirty dishes and clothes sitting right next to the hamper. Being honest. Without question, she started picking up, cleaning, and sanitizing everything. We got the AC looked at, and essentially they said that the entire outside unit and a few more things inside the house had to be replaced. The unit had outlived its expected lifespan. It was installed in 1997, being quite a while. Also, the company that gave us a quote offered to loan us some air conditioner units that we can put in the windows to try to combat the heat a little bit. Yet again, another thing to be grateful for. Unfortunately, with our baby, the house was still too hot to live in. So, like I mentioned earlier, my wife's mom and grandma let me stay with them as well. I'm grateful for that, and I'm also grateful for my family and friends, some of which threw together a fundraiser to help offset the cost of the AC repair. I'm grateful for the time, energy, effort, and money that they put into this. I'm extremely grateful for family and friends for their generous donations. Those donations ranged from $10 to over $1,000. I'm grateful that this crisis helped me see the inner change that being grateful can have on someone's outlook. I'm grateful that our AC broke because it caused me to realize that I really needed to take control of our finances. It made me realize I really need to start hustling to save money. I heard a quote the other day that said, "Save enough money to where a crisis becomes an inconvenience." And that is something that I'm currently working on. We literally have a sign in our bathroom that says "Start each day with a grateful heart," and I haven't really done that until now. When I was diagnosed as positive with the virus, one emotion that came across is fear. Looking back, I could have told myself to be more like fire and be fearless, or more like air and be still. When my air conditioner broke and my wife came over to clean, she was like earth. Reliable, dependable, solid. When I focused on my business, I was like fire, passionate, consuming, daring. And when I went out in public the first time after being medically cleared, to me it felt like water. I felt powerful. I went out and I walked to go get my lunch. After being stuck in the house, getting out was something that I felt like I needed to do. Be active. I could have just got in my car and drove to go get food. But it was something about feeling like I could go walking if I wanted to. So, in that instance, was I being like earth and standing firm in my fitness goals? I could have also been like Earth and been stubborn and did my normal 4-mile run that day, but I didn't. I was like air. I was flexible enough to realize that that decision probably wasn't the best. I was like water, and I was being understanding. So, you can see how we can get inspiration from the elements to make us become better people. We can change those negative qualities into positive ones. Utilizing the elements, at least for me, just makes that process a little bit more simple. So, my question to you is, what are you going to do to change your mindset? What have you learned in this video that's going to help you change your everyday life? Are there some examples that I missed? I want to thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this video. Comment below an example this past week, looking back, how you've reflected one of these elements without even knowing it. And bonus points for using qualities that I did not mention in this video. If you aren't subscribed to my channel already, you're going to want to be. I post content similar to this and motivational content every single Monday morning for a little bit of Monday motivation. Thank you guys so much for being here and being real and watching my videos. Thank you so much for the community. I've gained so much of a feeling of community from this platform. You guys really are a big support system, so let's keep it up. There's a link in the description to my Linktree, which has all of my social media on it. Send me a DM, talk to me. I'd love to chat with you guys for a little bit. I'm really grateful for you guys. And thanks. Thank you guys so much. Well, that's it for this video. So, as always, I'll see you real soon. Bye, guys. Change my mindset. I keep looking over there at the teleprompter. Try this again.